Great thanks for double duty tonight.
Thanks, Keith.
As the pressure for Congress to stand up to the president increases in Washington, a second front opened today outside the Beltway with an unprecedented event in the history of this war. For the first time, former generals who actually served in Iraq are appearing in advertisements criticizing the commander-in-chief, his handling or mishandling of the war, and congressional hesitancy to take greater control. The ads pull no punches. In the first, the retired General John Batiste appears after a short clip of the president repeating the mantra he's repeated so many times before.
I have always said that I will listen to the requests of our commanders on the ground.
Mr. President, you did not listen. You continue to pursue a failed strategy that is breaking our great Army and Marine Corps. I left the Army in protest in order to speak out. Mr. President, you have placed our nation in peril. Our only hope is that Congress will act now to protect our fighting men and women.
The ads, sponsored by VoteVets.org, come a little more than a year after Batiste and 4 other retired generals called for Donald Rumsfeld to resign. John Soltz, of course, is the chairman of VoteVets.org, sponsor of the ads. He was an Army captain who served in Iraq in 2003. John, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me, sir. My pleasure.
General Batiste had the 1st Infantry Division in Iraq for 2.5 years. Another one of your ads has Paul Eaton, 33 years in the military, the general in charge of training the Iraqi military from 2003 to 2004. This is the first time retired commanders who actually served there have actually called the president's hand on his policy. What moved them to do this now?
Well, there's also Keith, a third ad with General Wesley Clark, but I think with General Batiste and General Eaton, it's something very personal inside, much like it is for me. And if you talk to General Batiste, he'll tell you it's all about helping the troops on the ground. It's all about taking care of soldiers. And it's all about keeping America safe and capturing and killing the people that attack this country. And we're strategically fixing Iraq, and the president has absolutely broken the Army and Marine Corps and destroyed our ability to project force around the world and protect this country and destroy Al-Qaeda. And for them, it's about national security, and it's about taking care of soldiers.
The ad we just saw called on Congress to protect our fighting men and women, aimed at about a dozen Republican members who are up for election and on the fence about Iraq. Do you sense that it could have an impact not merely on those races, but on what's happening in Washington?
Absolutely. What we just talked about today with this Gang of 11 is the exact intent of this ad. Not only is it 4 senators and multiple members of the House, but so often when VoteVets.org, when we go to Washington, D.C., and we talk to these members of Congress, they say, we're with you, John. We're against the president. We're against the escalation. But they're still voting with the president, and they're still accepting his failed strategy to defeat Al-Qaeda. And what you see today is this pressure that's pushing the Republicans to go to the White House and say, Mr. President, you can't do this anymore. And that's the pressure that we're trying to provide. And since these Republicans are on the fence, hey, we thought what's better than for them to hear from the generals themselves who served in Iraq and educate them and their voters that the president can't protect this country.
Okay, to the Gang of 11, while we have you here, you've got Congressman Dent, you've got Congressman Kirk, and 9 others going in there yesterday, as Tim Russert reported, and basically reading the riot act to the president. Do you sense, finally, as Dana Milbank just said, that this might be a turning point, that this might actually change things? And if so, what is needed next from the public?
I don't think it's the turning point. I think it's a step forward. When Jack Murtha came out, that was considered a turning point. Today with the general's ads, that's a turning point. I think what it's about is that these Republicans are sort of surrounded politically, and they want to get out of this idea that they've stood with the president. And the longer the Democrats hold up an idea of what the second plan is going to look like, the more political trouble these Republicans are, and then they're trying to slide out. So I think that they're moving closer to the Democrat position and closer to a position that is going to call for a responsible redeployment and the destruction of Al-Qaeda, but they're not there yet, and it's going to take a long, long time, and unfortunately it might take the removal of this president from the White House in 2008 to completely end the war in Iraq and defeat Al-Qaeda in the war on terror.
John Soltz, chairman of VoteVets.org, as always, thanks for your service.
Thanks
and thanks
so much
for your time.
Appreciate it.